Hi guys, it's Essential Oil Day today and I am so excited to be bringing this topic to you. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my intro video, I don't think I did, but I am actually a certified aromatherapist, and so this is actually one of the things that I do. I teach classes about essential oils twice a month here in my local community. And so I am very passionate about essential oils. I feel like everybody should be using them and they can really benefit anybody. And so there's a lot of information about essential oils that's out there, and not all of it's accurate. So I'm just going to briefly kind of talk a little bit today about what essential oils are, how they work in and on the body, and then how to use them in your everyday life. So we're going to get started, and I'm just going to tell you essential oils are basically the aromatic, they're highly concentrated plant substances that are the aromatic portion of the plant essence, essentially. So whenever you have an essential oil, it takes a lot of plant material to produce a very tiny bit of essential oil. So for example, it takes 30 to 50 roses to go into a single drop of rose oil. So if you have 600 drops in a 1 ounce bottle of rose essential oil, that means it took anywhere from 18,000 to 30,000 roses to fill that bottle. So you can imagine how concentrated the essential oils are, and that's why less is more. You don't need a lot of essential oils when you're using them to get their benefits. So next I want to talk about lavender. So I don't know if you guys have ever felt like a sprig of lavender, but it's not very heavy. I mean, imagine a sprig of lavender that you're holding in your hand. It's very light. So now I want you to imagine how much plant material it takes to have 63 pounds of lavender flowers. And that's how much it can take to produce a 13-ounce bottle of lavender essential oil. So that's why it's really important whenever you're purchasing your essential oils to make sure that you're getting good quality essential oils. I always tell my students, you want to look for organic or wild crafted essential oils, and you always want to look for companies that are willing to provide the GCMS report, which stands for gas chromatography mass spectrometry. So what that is it's kind of like the recipe and the ingredients. So imagine that you're making blueberry muffins, and to make the blueberry muffins you need maybe a cup of blueberries, half a cup of flour, half a cup of sugar, and a cup of milk. So that is your gas chromatography. That's your list of everything that's in it. Your mass spectrometry is going to tell you the quantities. So that's where the 1 cup and the half cup comes in of all of those different ingredients. So whenever you request a gas chromatography mass spectrometry or GCMS report from a company, it tells you all of the chemical families and chemical constituents and what percentage of each is in that bottle of essential oil. So the reason that's important to me as a certified aromatherapist is because then I can blend products therapeutically, and I'll know exactly how that's going to impact the body. I'll know if it is high in a specific chemical constituent, that it's going to be very calming and very relaxing, and it's going to help soothe the body. Whereas another chemical constituent might be very stimulating and might help you to be more alert and more awake. So one of the things that's really nice about Lemongrass Spa is that whenever you purchase any essential oils from us, you get this fabulous essential oil user's guide. And I have to say, I have purchased a lot of essential oils over the years, and there's a lot of misinformation with a lot of companies out there on how you use products and how you can apply them to yourself. And one thing that I love about Lemongrass Spa is that they'll tell you exactly the safety and dilution recommendations that are safe for you. They give you suggested use, and then they even give you recipes that you can try. So for example, since we were talking about lavender, it tells you that lavender is floral, fruity, and herbal. The botanical name is Lavandula angustifolia, and it's steam distilled. So whenever you are looking at essential oils, there's basically 3 different methods of extraction for essential oils. They can either be steam distilled, They can be solvent extracted or they can be cold pressed. So your solvent extracted oils are usually the more expensive oils like rose or ylang ylang, because they have to process them in a different way, because they're very delicate and because of where the essential oil sacs are located in those particular plants. Whereas most oils are either steam distilled or cold pressed. So lavender is steam distilled. Your cold pressed oils are usually your citrus oils because they'll press the peel, and that's where the essential oil comes from in citrus plants. So the reason that I suggest buying organic or wild crafted oils, especially if you're getting citrus oils, is because when you're spraying crops with pesticides, it goes on the rind, it goes on the exterior of the plant. So especially with citrus oils, if you're then taking that plant and pressing it and concentrating it, you're not just concentrating the essential oil, you're concentrating the pesticides and the chemicals, and then you're applying that to your body and it's getting into your bloodstream. So it's especially important that you're looking for wild crafted, organic, essential oils, and all of the products that Lemongrass Spa offers, all of the essential oils are either USDA certified organic or they're wild crafted. And they come from either a steam distilled method or a cold pressed method. And all of that information can be found right on our website if you have any questions at all. So while we're on the topic, I want to kind of briefly touch on grades of essential oils. So there's no official grading system in the essential oil world. You may have heard terms like therapeutic grade or medicinal grade or aromatic grade. So those are basically just marketing terms. What I always look for with a company is that it's either organic or wild crafted, and that they provide the GCMS report, because that's the true test of the good quality oils, because then you can see if it's been contaminated with anything, you can see if it's been adulterated or diluted or cut with anything. Unfortunately, adulteration in the essential oil industry is very, very common. And so one of the ways that they'll do that is if they know that a specific essential oil is high in a specific chemical constituent, they might add another oil that has a high percentage of that ingredient to kind of bump up the chemical constituent of the oil. And you can tell all of that when you look at a GCMS report if you know what you're looking for, because oils have kind of certain characteristics that they should have in common if they're true quality essential oils. One of the other things that I always suggest is the reason you want the GCMS report is because then you know exactly how that is going to affect you and how it's going to be blended when you're using it to make products. So that's especially important for me because I do want the products that I make for my clients to do what they're supposed to do. So again, that's why you look for companies that provide the GCMS report, that have organic and wild crafted options. And so those are the things that you want to especially look for, not so much the marketing that tells you it's therapeutic grade. Our oils are highest quality oils that are available, and you can feel safe using our oils for your family and for yourself. So I kind of briefly talked about what essential oils are and what to look for in essential oils. So next I want to talk about how they work. So whenever you smell an essential oil, so smell is one of the senses that's most tied to memory, and it can help bring things back for you. So it's very tied to the limbic system, which affects mood and emotions. So anytime you're smelling something, it goes through your olfactory system, which is your nose, and then that goes directly into your limbic system in your brain, and that is what directly impacts your emotions and your mood. So one of the things I tell friends of mine is, you know, if your husband comes home in a bad mood or your wife comes home in a bad mood, you can just kind of quietly put a couple drops of one of our citrus oils like lemon or wild orange, sweet orange in your diffuser and just turn it on and just kind of walk away, because any of the citrus oils are very uplifting to the mood. They help you feel happier and better. And so if your your spouse comes home in a bad mood, you just put some essential oils in the diffuser and let them diffuse as they wind down from their busy day at work, and you should have a happier husband. So I say that's my grumpy hubby tip. So use your citrus oils to affect the mood in your home. It's also great if you have grumpy kids when they come home from school, so that you can have them diffusing oils while they're doing their homework, and it's going to put them in a better, happier mood. So the other way that you use essential oils, so that was inhalation, where you're smelling the oils, is you can use them topically. So topically, when you're using essential oils, what that's usually doing is that's affecting you on a physical level. So for example, if you have sore muscles or sore joints, or you have like some digestive discomfort, that's when you would want to use your oils topically and actually put them directly onto your skin. I always recommend that you dilute. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, because like I said, essential oils are super concentrated. So we already talked about how much plant material it takes to make a single drop of essential oil. So you don't need to overburden your body by using an undiluted drop of essential oil directly in your skin. You always want to make sure that you're diluting it. And again, on your guide, it's going to tell you exactly how to dilute. So for example, for lavender, it says add 4 drops of lavender and 6 drops of peppermint to a 10 milliliter roller bottle and fill it to the shoulder with a carrier oil. So some good carrier oils are fractionated coconut oil. It's odorless, it's colorless, it's non-staining. You can use jojoba oil. It's a liquid wax, and it actually imitates or mimics the skin's sebum layer. So it's actually very nourishing for the skin. So you can do different carriers depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But fractionated coconut oil is available from Lemongrass Spa, and that's a really great one to pair with your essential oils, especially if you're new to essential oils, rather than investing in a lot of the really expensive carrier oils that are available that you can use. So you can either use them to inhale. So inhalation is one method of use. Or topical is another method of use, where you're putting it on your skin in a diluted carrier oil. So one of the other things that I wanted to just briefly talk on, and that's because it is so prevalent, is internal use or ingestion of essential oils. So as a certified aromatherapist, I have found that most people can achieve what they're trying to by either using essential oils topically or through inhalation. There's really no need for you to ingest essential oils. And I don't recommend that you just willy-nilly ingest essential oils unless you are under the care of a certified aromatherapist that has had training in ingesting essential oils. And the reason for that is because oils are very concentrated and they're highly potent, and they can impact medications that you're taking. They can impact organs and body systems because of the fact that they're so concentrated. And so I always say to err on the side of safety and just go with something that's safe for everybody, which is inhalation and dilution. And you do need to take into account, age. For example, I don't recommend using essential oils on children under the age of 2. And then any children that you're using essential oils around or on, you need to be very cognizant of the dilution if you're applying it topically, and just make sure that, for example, it's safe for their age range. So for example, eucalyptus is only recommended for ages 10 and up. And that's because children are still developing. Their skin is thinner, it's more sensitive. Same with elderly people or anyone that's immune compromised. You need to be very cautious when you're using essential oils and dilute those oils more than you would for a healthy adult or a typical adult. So, and then going back to ingestion, it has nothing to do with quality or purity of the oils. It has everything to do with safety. Any oil that is of a good quality, pure oil that you can tell from the GCMS report or the fact that it's organic, wild crafted, is going to be safe to ingest. I just don't recommend it because there's other recommended ways that you can use essential oils that you'll get really good benefits from, and probably actually have better benefits because they do affect you through the limbic system and topically from a physical level. So there's really no need to take oils internally. So I just wanted to talk about that really briefly. And I'm trying to stay on track, so I'm just reading through my notes so I don't leave anything out. So I always tell people anyone can use essential oils. All you have to do is be able to open a bottle. If you can open a bottle of essential oils, you can smell it, and you're going to benefit from that inhalation, from an emotional level, from a mood level. For example, if you've had like a rough day and you're just kind of stressed out, open up a bottle of lavender and take a whiff. It's really calming. It's going to kind of calm you down and help you to be more relaxed. It's really helpful for kiddos if they're like kind of bouncing around all over the place. It's very calming. So that's something that you can even just keep in your purse and pull it out if you're feeling stressed out, like in line at the DMV, and just take a whiff and smell it, and it'll help to calm you down and be very soothing. So that is the simplest way to use essential oils, is inhaling them and using them through diffusion. So we actually have some fabulous diffusers, which are on the back of that guide that I mentioned. So these two are our newest offerings. This is our Finn the Frog diffuser, which is adorable for children's rooms. It doubles as a diffuser and a humidifier. So especially now that we're coming into a drier season, this is the perfect time to add some moisture back into the air. If you live in a really arid climate like Arizona, parts of California, Nevada, a lot of times during the winter especially, people tend to get nosebleeds because it's so dry. So you can actually use Finn the Frog as a humidifier to help put that moisture back into the air that is lacking, especially in colder weather. This is the one that I was very excited about that was just introduced at our last conference. This is our Pearl Glow Diffuser. It is a hand-blown glass diffuser. It features a faux flame, and it's got this beautiful like white pearl iridescent finish. So it's very classy looking. It's going to go with all types of decor in your home, and that would be the one that I would recommend for a bedroom or a large living room or a shared area of the home. Finn the Frog I would recommend more for a children's room or a playroom. And then of course our kind of go-to is our Fresh Breeze ultrasonic diffuser. So I love that this is so small and easy to move from room to room. These three are all going to be the water diffusers. So you fill them with water, and then you just put the desired number of drops of essential oil. So for a smaller room, you could start with 4 to 5. For a larger room, you could go as high as 10 to 12, depending on the oil. I would not recommend you do that with eucalyptus or peppermint because they are very potent. Usually less is more with those oils. So you can start with just a drop or two, and just that small amount will diffuse very nicely throughout the home and help your house to smell nice and fresh. And then finally, the last diffuser that's available is our wall plug-in. And this is actually a really cool diffuser. It does not have water. It comes with, I think it's 3 little felt pads. And you just slide it open, you put the essential oil on the felt pad, and you close the cover. And then when you plug it in, there's a little fan that will dispense the scent throughout your home. So it's a much safer, healthier alternative to synthetic fragranced wall diffusers that are on the market. So one of the most common things that you find in synthetic fragrances are chemicals that can be disruptive to your hormone system. They can cause a lot of problems in your body. So if you guys haven't already seen it, I actually did a whole Ditch and Switch series, and it's available on my YouTube channel. And it talks about the top 10 most toxic products in your home from a personal care standpoint, and how to swap those, ditch those, and switch those to something that's a little bit healthier and less chemical laden, that's going to be less disruptive to your whole system of your body. So one of the ways that you can do that is by making small changes, like swapping out your fragranced products for non-fragranced and using things like essential oils or plant essences instead. So that's one of the things that's really awesome about Lemongrass Spa is we don't use any fragrance in any of our products. All of the scent that you get from our products is either from essential oils or plant and fruit extracts, which is awesome. So there's nothing synthetic about any of our products. So you don't have to worry about those phthalates and those other things that are disruptive to the hormonal system. So let me see if I went over everything. So if you have never used a diffuser, these are actually great because they will just run and then turn off on their own. Or you can set them to run for just a specific time period. So what I really like to do is about 15 minutes before my kiddos go to bed, I'll turn on their diffuser just briefly so that it'll be calming, they'll be relaxed, they'll go to sleep, and then when I go tuck them in, I'll turn the diffuser off so that it's not running all night, but they're still getting that lingering fragrance in their room as they're drifting off to sleep, which is always nice. So if you guys have any questions at all, you're welcome to message me, or you can comment on the event, comment on this video. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we're going to be talking about essential oils all this week. So I just wanted to give you kind of a brief overview of what essential oils are, how to use them, what they do, how they work. So, and then just briefly, like how to incorporate them into your everyday life. So we talked about inhalation and topical use, making sure that they're diluted, making sure that when you're wanting to affect your mood or your emotions, you inhale. If you're wanting to affect something physical like digestive discomfort or achy pain, like joint or muscle pain, that you're going to use the topically diluted. And then just how to use them in your everyday life. So those two methods, inhalation or topical application. My favorite way is to diffuse essential oils. And we talked about the different diffusers that are available from Lemongrass Spa. And if you guys have any other questions, I look forward to helping you. And thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.